One of the most common questions that we get from writers, emerging writers, is whether or not you're ready to go paid. Because it is scary to ask people for money, and it's scary that you ask people for money, and even worse, people won't give it to you. And there's no foolproof formula for when it's right to go paid. It does depend on your financial goals, what kind of Substack you write. But we have looked into the data a bit with our data team and come up with some benchmarks to help get you oriented. I would remember to think about your goals again for your Substack and what success looks like to you. If you want to make Substack your full-time gig, that looks really different than if you just want a part-time side project to do on the weekends on top of another job. But first, one crucial piece of framing is that going paid is a commitment to yourself and your readers. Yes, it's just clicking a button, connect to Stripe, but beyond that, it's writing regularly and consistently, which is actually the biggest predictor of success for new Substack writers, is the ability to press publish like week after week, month after month for a long period of time. So before you go paid, I would probably take an honest look at your own personal capacity to think about whether you have the time, the interest, and the commitment to do so. It's not really something that you can, of course, like pause subscriptions, turn them off, but it's best to do that once you feel ready and once you know that you can commit to that and that you want to commit to publishing regularly for your readers. And we usually recommend writing about once a week for both your free and paid readers, as well as the time into promotion, branding, and other aspects of running an independent writing business. But let's go into this framework that we've created for thinking about your earnings potential and when to go paid. There are a few different things to consider. The first is reach, the second is engagement, and the third is price. Reach being the size of your readership, engagement being how much people open, share, and love your writing, and the price just being how much you charge at each of the pricing tiers that Substack gives you. What's important about this is that with each signal, it's not static, it's something that you can change. There is a lever that you as a writer can pull in order to increase each of these things and thus increase your overall earnings potential. And we'll sort of walk through that. So the first thing is reach and engagement. This is honestly what's more important in most cases, or the more challenging or complex thing. The value of your writer-reader relationship is basically measured by how many readers you have, free and paid, what your audience size is. And that's Substack, but it's also honestly your other social media channels and how many people you know outside of that. And the second is just your engagement, how much people are really paying attention to you, whether your writing becomes something that's like, I like open that like every once in a while, but usually it sort of sits in my inbox, versus this is something that I read every week and it's sort of become a crucial part of my weekly information diet, a crucial part of doing my job, or something that just like brings me joy every weekend that I look forward to. So looking at reach and engagement, we're gonna look at a few data points for thinking about, based on these numbers, what do we expect for your conversion of how many people will go paid? So the proxies that we use here is we think that your email open rates that Substack gives you per email is a proxy for how engaged readers are. In your stats for your dashboard, you'll probably see each post having like an open rate next to it, like 44% or like 55%. And it'll go up and down, and that's totally normal. But overall, you can probably guess at like where you are on an average post. And that's how many people are opening it. That's your engagement. We see that if your email open rates are usually less than 30%, maybe 1 to 3% of your readers are going to go paid if you turn on paid. If your email open rates are 30 to 50%, maybe 3 to 5% of your readers will go paid. And if they are greater than 50%, that's really good, by the way. So props to anybody who has over 50% open rates. You might see 6 to 10% of your readers go paid. So we think that usually you want to be at that 30 or above before going paid, but it's also just a decision that you can make by looking at your email open rates and doing that napkin math calculation to think about given how many readers I have, given what my open rates are, if I turn on paid right now at this price, how much money do I think I would make every month or every year? So now that we've talked a bit about reach and engagement, let's have a quick chat about pricing. We're going to dive deeper into pricing later on as we get into more of the nuts and bolts of publishing. But right now, we can just talk about something quick. So most newsletters are going to be charging $5 to $10 a month or $50 to $100 a year. And you can, if you're like not really sure how much to charge, one of the easiest things you can do is go to substack.com/discover, check out other publications in your category, whether that's sports or faith or finance, and see how much they're charging. But we see that most are charging 5 to 10 a month, 50 to 100 a year. The big exception here is business and finance newsletters. So if you think that your newsletter is more of a professional audience, the kind of thing that your readers are expensing to their employer, then you might want to be charging a little bit more or quite a bit more, maybe $10 to $50 a month or $100 to $500 a year. So these are just, again, these are medians, averages, estimates, but the best thing that you can do is to just look up some similar publications. Another quick tip I'll give about pricing is that 50 cents or $1, that matters way more to you as a writer than it does to the reader. So if you're not sure, pick a price and then add $1 to it. It's not going to make a big difference. So that's the other thing I would say is like, just charge a little bit more than you think you would. If someone would pay $5, they would pay $6. So now we sort of have all of the factors there. We have our reach, how many people you have on your list, you have your engagement, your open rates, and then you have your price. So if you just do some quick napkin math, what that looks like is you multiply your free email list size by your approximate conversion rate based on this table by your price. You just compare that number that you get with your initial financial goals, and you'll have a bit of an estimate of how much money you were to make were you to go paid. And if your estimated earning potential here is below your goals, don't worry about it, because the whole point is that all three inputs, price, reach, engagement, are things that you can change. In fact, the rest of the Substack Grow workshop series is all about how to increase that potential. We'll teach you more about how to pick a really good price. We'll teach you more about how to create really engaging content posts, develop a strategy that gets people engaged and excited to read every single one. And we'll talk a lot about growth, because I know that promotion and growth is one of the most challenging things. So in terms of expanding that reach, growing your free list, growing your paid list, doing cross promotions, figuring out how to use social media, that's all going to be covered in the next 5 workshops. So again, we're giving you this framework to give you one sense of a benchmark of here's where I am right now. But the rest of the workshop is about making those numbers go up across these different axes.